Imagine the year is 1750. You are a commander of the most powerful army in Europe, the French army. Your soldiers are armed, fed, and ready to strike. But as you look across the river, instead of the weak peasants you expected, you see your nightmare, monsters that shouldn't be here, thousands of kilometers away from their home. You order a retreat without firing a single bullet. But what you don't know is that you didn't run from an army. You ran from a few pieces of cloth and felt. This is the true story of the strangest military bluff in history. A story where a small German village brought the French army to its knees. In the 18th century, life on the banks of the Rhine River was hell. There was no united Germany. Instead, it was a patchwork of small, weak states, unable to defend themselves. On the other side of the river lay France, the superpower of the era. The French had an annual tradition. Exactly when the German wheat and grapes were ripe for harvest, they would cross the river, harvest the crops, and take them away. They called it foraging, but for the people of Müllheim, it meant starvation and death in winter. The townspeople were desperate. They wrote letters to their dukes and princes time and again. "Help us, we are being destroyed." But the answer was always silence. They were alone. No one dared to mess with France. Until one cold night, in an emergency town council meeting, an old man made a suggestion that exploded in that small room like a bomb. The proposal was this: if the Christians of Europe won't help us, let's ask for help from the enemy of Christianity. Let's write to the Ottoman Sultan. This idea was pure madness. For centuries, the Ottomans were the boogeymen of Europe. They were the ones who had reached the gates of Vienna. But a drowning man clutches at straws. A letter was written, not a political letter, but a plea. "O great Sultan, the French steal our bread. Only your name makes them tremble. Send your soldiers and save us." Months passed. Hopes had faded. Until one day, a wagon bearing the Ottoman royal seal entered the town. People gathered. Hearts were racing. Had the Sultan sent an army? Had he sent cannons? The Sultan's representative stepped down and told the people, "The Sultan cannot send an army, for we are fighting our own wars. But he has sent something stronger than an army." He pointed to the hemp sacks in the back of the wagon. When the people opened the sacks, they froze. Inside the sacks, there were no weapons, just clothes, several sets of strange uniforms, tall felt hats and red robes. That was it. A short letter accompanied them. "My soldiers do not need to be there. It is enough that their clothes are seen." Now the people of Müllheim were left with a few sets of clothes and a French army that was on its way. What were they to do? This is where the town's smartest plan was hatched. The Janissary uniforms, the Ottoman elite soldiers, didn't fit just anyone. These clothes required presence. So the town elders went to the Sackträger guild. These were men whose job was carrying heavy sacks of salt and grain. Their arms were as thick as tree trunks, and their necks were bull-like. They weren't soldiers, but physically, they were terrifying. Imagine German farmers and porters putting on the burq, the tall white Janissary hat, and the red kaftans. They strapped on the yatan swords the Sultan had sent. They were told, "You don't need to fight, just walk. Walk as if you own the land." They practiced marching like Janissaries. They practiced looking silent and deadly. They were becoming the actors in the century's greatest theater of war. The day of the harvest arrived. French lookouts pushed their boats into the water. As usual, they expected the weak resistance of a few farmers with pitchforks. The French commander raised his telescope to scan the shore, and this is the moment history changed. The French commander didn't see farmers in his glass. He saw organized lines of tall soldiers with white hats and red uniforms pacing the hills. The human brain takes a strange shortcut in times of danger. The French commander didn't say to himself, "How strange! Why are Ottomans here?" No! His brain screamed, "Janissaries! The Sultan's main army is here. We walked into a trap." Back then, the presence of Janissaries meant the presence of the Ottoman Empire. Engaging them meant declaring a world war. Fear is contagious. The front boat stopped. A murmur ran through the French ranks. "The Turks are here!" The French didn't even get close. They turned around and rowed with all their might to escape. They thought they had fled certain death. While on the hill, the German porters were exploding with laughter. The clothes had done their job. The harvest was saved without spilling a single drop of blood. You might say this is just a local tale, but if you go to the State Museum in Karlsruhe, Germany today, you will see a collection called Türkenbeute, Turkish booty. The clothes kept there are exactly the ones described in the story. Official history says these are war trophies, but local legend has its own version, a gift from the Sultan that saved their town. This story, whether legend or fact, teaches a great lesson in the world of war and politics. The winner isn't always the one with the biggest gun. Sometimes the winner is the one who tells the best story. The Sackträgers of Müllheim, with a few pieces of cloth, crafted a story that their enemy believed so deeply they ran away. If you enjoyed these lost stories of history, hit the like button and subscribe. In your opinion, could you fool an army with such a trick today? Let us know in the comments.